Today's idea comes from the calm, ruthless clarity of Charlie Munger, a man who didn't build his fortune by being the loudest in the room, but by thinking more clearly, moving more slowly, and refusing to play the same game as everyone else. If Munger was starting from zero today, no money, no status, no advantage, he wouldn't be chasing meme stocks, refreshing his phone every 5 minutes, or trying to guess where the market will be next week. He would follow a small set of rules. Simple rules, rules that almost no one takes seriously because they don't feel exciting enough. Yet they are powerful enough to turn 10 years into a completely different financial life. Real wealth, he would say, doesn't come from predicting the next winner. It comes from avoiding the big mistakes, owning what endures, and letting time do the heavy lifting for you. If you're here because you want wisdom instead of noise, principles instead of hype, and a calm, long-term path to real wealth, you're in the right place. Before we dive in, consider subscribing. This channel is for people who want to think better about money, about risk, and about the kind of life they're really building. All right, let's begin. Most people walk into the stock market believing they can spot greatness. They think that with enough news, enough tips, enough scrolling, they'll recognize the next Apple or the next Nvidia at the perfect moment. But Charlie Munger understood something far more honest. Even the smartest people in the world rarely identify great companies early. Not consistently, not reliably, not in a way that builds lasting wealth. Because the truth is uncomfortable. Great companies almost never look obvious in real time. In the early years, they look uncertain. They look unproven. They look exactly like the thousands of other businesses that are trying and failing at the same things. The market doesn't place a bright spotlight on future winners. It hides them. It covers them in volatility, skepticism, and doubt. Only after years of execution do they seem inevitable, and by then the price already reflects that inevitability. So the average investor ends up doing something dangerous. They confuse noise for insight. They confuse movement for progress. They chase narratives instead of understanding businesses. And when prices fall, as they all would do, they make emotional decisions instead of rational ones. Munger watched this pattern repeat across decades. People weren't losing because they lacked intelligence. They were losing because they lacked a system, a foundation, a set of principles that prevents emotional, impulsive, and often catastrophic decisions. That's why Munger never told people to focus on stock picking first. Picking stocks is fragile. Principles are durable. He believed you must first build the mind that can stay calm when markets are chaotic, the judgment that can separate noise from truth, and the discipline to act only when something genuinely makes sense. Without that, even the best stock picks become disasters in the wrong hands. A great company bought for the wrong reasons becomes a terrible investment. A solid opportunity becomes a dangerous mistake when the investor cannot control their own reactions. So Munger started where most people never look, at the thinking process itself, not at the stock, not at the price, not at the prediction. He built a framework designed to keep you steady when the market is determined to shake you loose, a way of thinking that reduces unnecessary decisions, eliminates preventable mistakes, and lets you compound calmly over a decade or longer. Because you don't need brilliance to build wealth. You need clarity. You need patience. You need principles that hold firm when the world becomes uncertain. And that is the foundation of everything that follows. Rule 1 begins with a simple but liberating truth. You don't need to identify the next great company, because you can own an entire collection of them at once. Munger knew that most investors, even the experienced ones, struggle to consistently pick individual winners, not because they lack intelligence, but because the market moves faster than human judgment, and future greatness often hides behind years of uncertainty. That's why he admired the quiet genius of broad market investing. And in today's world, the clearest expression of that idea is the S&P 500 and the ETF that tracks it, SPY. SPY does something no individual investor can do on their own. It holds the 500 most competitive, most profitable, and most resilient companies in the United States, automatically, continuously, without emotion. Every time the economy evolves, SPY evolves with it. When technology rises, SPY shifts toward tech. When new industries emerge, SPY absorbs them. When weak companies fall behind, SPY removes them. When giants rise, SPY lets you own them, often long before the crowd realizes what's happening. It is a machine that selects strength and quietly discards weakness. And the beauty of it is this: you don't need to predict anything. You simply own the system that already reflects America's most powerful businesses. Munger believed this approach protects ordinary people from the single greatest risk in investing: the belief that they can outsmart the market through guesswork. With SPY, you're not trying to beat the market. You're allowing yourself to become the market. And the market, over time, has been a remarkably reliable compounding engine. That's why decade after decade, SPY quietly outperforms the majority of professionals. Not because it's clever, but because it avoids costly mistakes. No panic, no ego, no sudden emotional decisions. And when you combine SPY with patience, you give yourself something most investors never experience: the calm confidence that time is working for you, not against you. Munger understood that Rule 1 isn't about stock picking. It's about risk control. It's about humility. It's about putting your wealth in a structure designed to endure recessions, crashes, and human error. You don't need to chase the next winner. You just need to own the basket where winners naturally rise to the top and losers quietly disappear. That is the logic of SPY, and it's the foundation of a decade-long path to real, lasting wealth. Rule 2 is one of Charlie Munger's most famous ideas, and also one of the most misunderstood. Invert. Always invert. Most people spend their lives trying to become smarter investors, seeking the perfect strategy, the perfect stock, or the perfect signal that tells them what to do next. But Munger approached the problem differently. Instead of asking, "How do I become brilliant?" he asked, "How do I avoid being stupid?" Because stupidity, not bad luck, not lack of intelligence, is what destroys most portfolios. And stupidity in investing has a pattern. It shows up in predictable, repeated ways. People buy businesses they don't understand. They follow trends simply because they're loud. They panic when prices fall and overconfidence when prices rise. They confuse speculation with investing and confuse entertainment with research. But when you invert the problem, you see the world with shocking clarity. Instead of asking, "What should I do to succeed?" you ask, "What behaviors guarantee failure, And how do I remove every one of them from my life? This is where Munger's genius comes through. When you eliminate the actions that create losses, the emotional trades, the rushed decisions, the seductive but dangerous shortcuts, you dramatically increase your odds of long-term success without needing to be a genius. Munger used to say, "It is remarkable how much long-term advantage people like us have when we avoid the dumb things. Avoid overtrading, avoid leverage, avoid stories that sound too good to be true, avoid thinking you're smarter than the market, avoid reacting to every headline." Inversion turns investing from a guessing game into a discipline, a process, something steady, something calm, something you can actually trust. And what's beautiful about Rule 2 is this: you don't need special insights. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need to predict anything at all. You simply remove the behaviors that guarantee long-term harm, and what remains is a portfolio that can actually compound. This is the quiet power of Munger's approach. He wasn't trying to be brilliant. He was trying to remove the nonsense that blinds most investors and destroys their results. Because when you stop doing the things that lose money, you give your wealth the freedom to grow the way compounding is meant to work. Slowly, calmly, relentlessly. And that brings us to the third rule, a rule about knowing yourself more deeply than you try to know the market. Rule 3 goes to the heart of Charlie Munger's philosophy. Know what you truly understand, and refuse to step outside that circle. Most investors try to know everything. They jump from industry to industry, from trend to trend, thinking the secret to wealth is expanding their knowledge endlessly. But Munger believed the opposite. He argued that a small circle of real understanding is far more valuable than a wide circle of shallow guesses. Your circle of competence might be technology, or real estate, or consumer businesses, or something connected to your work or experience. It doesn't matter how big the circle is. What matters is that you stay inside it, where judgment is clear and mistakes are rare. Because outside your competence, you're no longer investing. You're gambling with confidence you haven't earned. And that's when the market punishes you. Munger often said, "The world is not driven by greed. It is driven by envy." And envy pushes investors to copy others, to chase what's popular, to buy what they don't truly understand simply because everyone else seems enthusiastic. But inside your competence, you're calm. You see the business for what it is, not for what a crowd says it should be. And this is where the second part of Rule 3 comes in, letting time do the heavy lifting. Compounding is rarely dramatic. In the early years, it looks slow, boring, sometimes invisible. But with discipline and patience, it transforms into something extraordinary, a force more powerful than intelligence, luck, or timing. Most people fail to experience compounding, not because it doesn't work, but because they quit long before its power appears. They chase something new. They panic at the wrong moment. They interrupt the very process that would have made them wealthy. Munger understood that the greatest returns don't come from constant action, but from long stretches of thoughtful inactivity. You find a business you truly understand, you evaluate it with clarity, you buy it at a sensible price, and then, the hardest part, you wait. You let time magnify your good decisions and quietly erase your small mistakes. The combination of competence plus patience is one of the rarest and most profitable skill sets in investing. Few people practice it, but those who do build a relationship with time that others can only envy. And that leads us to the final part of Munger's framework, the practical blueprint he would follow if he were starting from zero today. If Charlie Munger were starting from zero today, no wealth, no reputation, no head start, his strategy would not be complicated, it would not be flashy, and it would not depend on predicting anything at all. He would begin by building a foundation that compounds quietly, reliably, and almost invisibly at first. A long-term position in the broad market. SPY. That would be his anchor, his base, the part of his portfolio designed to grow not through cleverness, but through the natural strength of the American economy itself. Every month, a simple contribution. Every year, a calm review. No panic during downturns, no euphoria during rallies, no emotional decisions at all. Then, over the first year, he would deepen his understanding of one or two industries, his personal circle of competence. Not 10 industries, not 20, just one or two where he can think more clearly than the average investor. Maybe it would be technology, maybe consumer goods, maybe something connected to his own experience. The content doesn't matter, the clarity does. He would spend a year learning, not trading, not guessing, not chasing. Only once he truly understood a business would he even consider owning a piece of it. And even then, individual stocks would never replace the core. They would simply complement it. SPY would remain the engine, while a few carefully chosen companies would become the high-quality passengers traveling with it. Munger would avoid leverage, avoid day trading, avoid speculation disguised as insight, avoid anything that threatens the fragile relationship between wisdom and patience. He would focus on behavior, not prediction, on discipline, not excitement, on endurance, not speed. And year after year, he would let time sculpt the results. By year 5, you would see the shape of something solid. By year 7, you would feel the weight of compounding. By year 10, you would realize that this simple blueprint was never simple. It was designed to protect you from mistakes, designed to keep you invested in strength, designed to give you a life that is not dictated by market noise, but guided by clarity and calm. If Munger were starting from zero today, he wouldn't try to beat the market. He wouldn't try to predict the future. He would build a system that lets the future work for him. And that system is available to anyone willing to follow the same rules. Charlie Munger spent his entire life proving one simple truth: wealth doesn't come from brilliance. It comes from behavior, from choosing principles over predictions, discipline over excitement, and patience over noise. If you follow the same path, own what endures, avoid the mistakes that destroy most investors, stay inside what you truly understand, and give time the chance to work, your next 10 years can look very different from your last 10. It's not about being lucky, it's about being steady. And steady over time becomes powerful. If this message brought you clarity, consider subscribing. This channel is here to help you think better, invest wiser, and move toward a calmer, stronger financial life, one principle at a time. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.